All
Live
right.
on the Metal Voice, early morning edition. We're talking about early morning. We're talking about 6:45 a.m. here in North America. But of course in Germany we're about 12 1 o'clock ish. My guest today, Giles Lavery. What's going on, brother? Today we're going
How
to
you
talk
doing?
about
Doing good.
today we're going
That's
to
what
talk about Sweet Oblivion and of course a new record by Sabaton, The Great War. The
both of
Great
them. We're going
War.
to talk about both of them. And here we have I'm holding Sweet Oblivion. This is one of my favorite albums of this year so far.
Okay. I mean, should we start with Sabaton first, or yeah, let's start with
Sure, you,
Sabaton.
you go for it.
All right. Well, here we are. We're looking at. Whoa, this is probably their. I'm trying to remember what album they're at here. I think with their their ninth album is going to be released July 19th, 2019, of course. On Nuclear Blast, an amazing label. What like the first? It is Sabaton. Sabaton will always be Sabaton when it comes to their sort of style, their sound. But this time around, they they have that same sort of song structure that they did on the last album, same production, same sort of musical direction. However, there's a couple of twists and turns this time around. A couple of twists and turns probably nobody would expect, or maybe they would expect. But you know what? Expect the unexpected. Did you? I mean, you heard it. I mean, just give me quickly your analysis of Sabaton.
Very much in keeping with what they do. Uh, I really haven't got a whole lot to add other than that. If you like Sabaton, you're going to love it. If you don't like Sabaton, this is not going to change your mind. This is exactly what they do, and they do it well.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? It's strange enough. I would think this is more like I'm a Sabaton fan, so I could tell you. I know you're not the biggest Sabaton fan. I know you don't follow them, but you like them, right? I'm more of
Yeah.
a Sabaton fan, so as a fan, I would say this time around the songwriting is more mature. And what I mean by more mature is they're after 9 albums, they're really understanding how to write a whole album that is consistent and there's no filler. Like they're all fast-paced songs. There's no ballads, and I think that was one of their weak spots in the past, trying to do a ballad. It just kind of doesn't work, and it just with their style, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's other Sabaton fans that would say no to this. But I think that this is a consistent, slamming 10 songs, nonstop war. Of course, the theme, the concept, World War I, discussing all about the war and all the angles of the war. And I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I don't want to overdo it, but it's a very strong album. Probably one of the most consistent albums in their career. The production is pretty good, not bad. And I'm just going to give you the highlights. To me, The Attack of the Dead Man has a techno intro. Did you hear that, Giles? The techno intro?
Oh, I heard it.
Yeah, yeah. There was a techno intro, which is probably it reminds me of a song from like Eurovision. Like if Eurovision, there was like the Eurovision songs, they have a techno beat, they got an upbeat kind of song, very melodic, very catchy. So that's the first twist and turn, a sort of techno song. Another twist and turn is that Flanders Field, the last track, it's not really a song. It's more of a choir sort of, I guess with the poem in Flanders Field was written by a Canadian. I love Fields of Verdun, which everybody knows. It's great solos, just a great song overall. And another twist and turn is The End of Wars to End All Wars. This is like a massive orchestrated song with a huge choir on the chorus. And The Red Baron, which everybody knows, has a keyboard solo. It's more like an organ solo. And I dig that song too. The Seven Pillars of Wisdom, another great track. I don't know. Like every song to me is great. Maybe the Dead Dogs is a little. I didn't like it too much, but a very strong 8 out of 7 for me. What am I going to say? I think Joaquin is stretching on his vocals, using a little more of the lower range, especially on the first song, "The Future of Warfare." Is there any other songs that I love? "The Great War." I thought that was another great song with a lot of choir and vocal layers, and that's what it is. There's a lot of vocal layers on this album. What'd you think about the vocals?
Yeah, very, very well done. And I've got to add also, they're a very hard-working band. They've got to where they are through the basic fundamentals of what this business is built on, and that's hard work, good recording, good albums, good performance, good live shows, and a lot of touring. That's what they've done, and that's why it's paid off.
That's actually an excellent point. They're the exception to the rule that today, everybody's saying you can't make it, you can't make it, you can't break a band. They're the exception. They've actually, in the downloading era, they've actually managed to break this band to a level where they actually have their own festival. Right, Giles?
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
have.
who would have thought in
Yeah,
the
good for
download
them.
era, right?
Good for them.
Yep. So,
I think it's great. I think that aspect of it's fantastic. And I've seen them live a couple of times.
yeah,
They put on a show. Funny that you put on a show, people want to go see it. Isn't that isn't that just again going back to one of those fundamental things about this business? So much has changed, and yet it still comes down to half a dozen key elements.
yeah, yeah. Well, another thing about Sabaton is they've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And I remember they were opening for Accept on the Blood of Nations tour, and now Accept opens for them. So it's possible to make it if you work hard, write great music, find your own niche, and that's what they've done. They found their own niche. You can break your band. It's not impossible. They have shown that in this downloading era, you can break it. And they told me their albums go gold in Sweden all the time. People don't necessarily buy the albums themselves, but they buy the downloads, they legally buy them, they stream it, and they pay for it on the stream. So they do sell. And I've talked to these guys a few times. Very, very hardworking. Very. All right. So let's to close this off. I would definitely, give this album a strong, as a Sabaton fan, I would give it a strong 8.7 out of 10. Probably one of the best albums, or one of the most consistent, one of the most mature albums in their career. 10 tracks, solid, each one upbeat. There are no slow songs, a couple of twists and turns, like I said. Techno, a lot of choruses, a lot of choirs, a lot of orchestration, a little bit of organ or a keyboard sounding organ. But there you have it. Go pick up Nuclear Blast, the new album by Sabaton, The Great War. And I want you to talk to Geoff Tate's new solo project. I don't know if it's a solo project, but a project called Sweet
Well,
Oblivion.
it's a Frontiers project, and those that are familiar with the label Frontiers know that they like to put well-known singers with musicians and create these projects. Now, this one I'm holding here is Sweet Oblivion, is the title of this project featuring Geoff Tate. I mean, they've done things in the past with other name singers under certain names. I guess Place Vendome would be the equivalent for Michael Kiske, and this is Sweet Oblivion for Geoff Tate, hopefully the first of several. This is probably, if you have been waiting for Geoff Tate to make that big return to an 80s sound or an early 90s Queensryche sound, this is probably going to be as close as it's ever going to get. No, it does not sound like Rage for Order or The Warning. Don't let anyone's overenthusiasm for this fool you. It does not. However, it does sound probably the closest to Queensryche would probably be Empire. It sounds like a continuation of
Yeah,
Empire,
I agree.
probably without the mega kind of hooks and the mega songs. But it's a very, very good album and a very welcome return for Geoff to that particular era. Although I very much enjoyed the very first of his Operation Mindcrime trilogy, not the Queensryche album, but his band Operation Mindcrime released a trilogy in recent years, and the part one I actually thought was the strongest thing he'd done since the classic days of Queensryche, Empire, etc. But I think this is even closer to that sound. This is actually very much so closer to that sound. This could have been released in '94 after Empire,
Yeah.
and while it doesn't particularly sound like Queensryche are playing on it, it's in line with that Empire sort of '80s metal type of sound, and with Geoff's voice on it, which brings it close enough. So there you go. If you've been sitting there disgruntled since Promised Land, then
That's
this will
right.
probably help alleviate 25 years of frustration for you in one go.
This is the missing link between Empire and Promised Land somewhere, right? That's
Yeah. I mean, I love Promised Land. I like Promised Land more than I like Empire, but I know that not everyone agrees with that. So if you're looking for the commercial side of heavy metal with Geoff sounding fantastic, then check this out. This is hopefully a vehicle for him to keep those fans happy, where he can also continue to be creative in other ways under his own name or the name Operation Mindcrime, whatever he chooses to do. But a few more albums like this, I think, would definitely get him back in favor with a lot of the fan base that seems to have had an issue with some of his releases over the last, I guess you would even say 20 years. Very good album.
Yeah,
Well done, Geoff.
and let's give credit to a guitarist, Simon Mulurani,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Who actually wrote the music. And I don't know how much Geoff Tate actually contributed. I'm not. You have the album right there. You can actually see
Yeah, I'm
it.
gonna actually open it up and have a look because I would like to know how much.
Look,
I mean,
it's the unraveling.
not
It's the
always easy
unraveling.
to
The
tell.
unraveling. Here we go.
You have the singer's name in the songwriting credits, whether it's just the extent of vocal melody and lyric or whether it involves music as well. But unless it actually specifies,
So let's take a look at it. What does it look like? Little
well,
pictures.
well, there you go.
Oh, very cool.
However, I am I'm trying to find the credits here.
Well, as you find the credits, I'm going to give you my quick analysis of this. Yeah, I think this is somewhere between Rage Forward and Promised
No.
Land. And Promised Land. It's sort of like in there. Like, you're right. If there was an album after Rage Forward, this would be it. And
No, I said after. I said after Empire.
Oh, no. Actually, sorry. I take that back. Yes. I take that all back. I meant Empire and Promised Land. If there was an album in between there somewhere, the missing link between the two, then this would be the album. And you know what's cool about it? There's got some keyboard solos on it. And it really a guitar solo, then a keyboard solo. And if I was to pick my favorite tracks, I'd say True Colors, the opening song. Sweet Oblivion, I really like too. Hideaway, which I thought was the strongest track on the album because it's got a lot of time changes and it just, it builds up. Actually, every song is pretty good, man. Disconnect is an excellent slow song by Geoff. A lot of minor
And
stuff
you know
happening.
what? I can't see a single word on here about
Because you need glasses.
who wrote.
Yeah, it's too
I,
small.
I can read it fine, but I just cannot. It does not state on this whole packaging who wrote the songs. Now, the press release says that I'm sorry, his name escapes me for the moment.
Simone Mulurani.
Yeah.
Muluroni.
Implies that he wrote the music, but there's nothing to tell you here who wrote the lyrics. Now, these lyrics do sound very Geoff Tate.
Yeah,
like.
I agree.
So I think it's a safe bet to think that
We're going to run with that.
Geoff wrote the lyrics, or at least the majority of them. Although it is very strange how there's not a single thing in the booklet here about who wrote what. If you hadn't read the press release, you wouldn't know who wrote anything. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little glitch there, but I know that based on the interview. So Alan did an interview with Geoff, and he did talk about him writing with Simone. So I would guess.
I saw that.
Yeah, so I would guess that Geoff did write the lyrics, Simone wrote the music, and he did a fine job on the music. Very great guitar work. Very Queensryche.
And he produced it.
Yeah. No, he's taken the essence of the Queensryche group or the sound, the vibe, and he's kind of put it into a contemporary sort of sound today. And it's very melodic, and it does take you back to the '90s, but it sounds fresh and current as well. So
yeah, I don't know how contemporary it is. It sounds like an '80s record to me.
I don't know about that. It doesn't completely sound like an '80s record. I mean,
it sounds like a well-produced '80s record done properly, and that's nothing wrong with that. That's just what it is. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I like that. That's what I want when I buy these.
Well, but there you go. Any last words on any of your favorite songs, or any last words?
True Colors, Sweet Oblivion, My Last Story, Disconnect, Seek the Light.
I agree.
Well done, Geoff. Hopefully it's the first. We don't have to wait too much longer for a follow-up. I think just to balance a few of his more experimental projects and albums, I think to balance things a bit more in favor of what the classic sound of Queensryche fans would want, I think another one of these would be very nice. A follow-up next year.
And there you have it. There you go. Sabaton's new album coming out. When did
it's
I say?
Better. I like this a bit better than the Verdict. Dare I say it? Actually.
Okay.
I must make a choice.
July 19th, Sabaton, The Great War. Go pick it up on Nuclear Blast. I personally think it's a fantastic, well-consistent album, and so does Giles. And Sweet Oblivion Yes, Geoff Tate's new album or project, another must buy, which is already released, I think on June 14th. You can pick up that too. Giles, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me,
And we shall talk soon, brother.
as always. Talk to
And
you guys
don't
later.
forget to buy a Metal Voice shirt, subscribe to the Metal Voice, and, you know,
Sweet
like us on
Oblivion.
Facebook. All right. Take care. Bye.
Have a good one.